This is your host, Tia. This is your host, Tia. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Top 10. Live. Geek Vibes Nation. Geek Vibes Nation. Nation. The Top 10. The Top 10. Skype B. Don't you laugh at me. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Top 10 by Geek Vibes Nation. As always, I'm your host, Tia, and I have with me, as always, my partner in crime, my BFF, my co-host, Brittany. How are you doing?
Don't you butter me up. Don't you butter me up Wednesday. I'm ready. I'm very excited because the season has been so good, and I'm ready to kind of discuss our love of the show that it seems like no one's talking about. And I'm like, I need more people to recognize the show.
I need more people to recognize the show so that we can get the official announcement that it's been renewed for a fourth season. That's stressing me out a little, but we are talking about American Gods. I think about 6 weeks ago we did a top 10 best of American Gods season 3 so far. That covered episodes 1 through 5, and this one will cover episodes 6 through 10. We decided to break it up this season because in previous seasons there's only been 8 episodes. This season 10 episodes were in season 3, but it's just fun. Break it up, right? That way we don't have to, skip some good scenes just to get to a top 10. But yeah, I mean, it feels like not a lot of people are talking about it, but I'll have to tell you, Brittany, that if you search the hashtag Renew American Gods, there's a lot of people like begging Starz, renew this show, give it its final season, because that's the thing, is that even Ricky Whittle, the lead actor, Neil Gaiman, the guy who wrote the book, are saying like there's only one season left of story to tell, so just give us our final season and end it out. We're not asking for a million seasons, we're asking for one, literally just one, and you can make it 6 episodes for all I care. Just do it.
When I finished episode 10, I was like, oh, they're gonna have to end this. I was like, there was no easy ending to it. You know what I mean? There wasn't an ending where you're like, oh, we can just pretend what happened. It's like, no, it was
it's such a cliffhanger.
I know. It was very intense. Are we talking about that, Tia?
Oh my God, yeah, no, absolutely. Let's, I don't care. Let's dive into things. First of all, I want to ask you, though, I mean, you literally finished the season last night before this podcast. What are your thoughts of season 3 as a whole?
I was going to say, I think it's my favorite one. It's been the one I've been most emotionally attached to. I'm sad that there's no Sweeney, but I felt like it was very well done.
Yeah, I thought that I was going to say be affected more by Sweeney's, absence. I certainly wish that he was in the show, and I think that every time they had Laura around, I was like, oh man, can we see Sweeney back? But I was so invested in all of the characters throughout the season that it did feel like the most consistent. It didn't feel like it's a show that I'm just watching because of one character only.
Why did Laura Moon crawl into my heart like a little worm?
She did, right? She did.
I did not like her at first. I hated her at first, yeah. And you're supposed to hate her. And I wanted to hate her. And then she just crawled into my heart.
No, exactly. I mean, that episode where they go through her past, I was like, this is really depressing. Or, her journey in general was just, it definitely made you care more about her, where you're like, no, this girl is so unlikable, which I think is a lot of the point, as you said, of her character, where it's like you don't always have a female character that you're going to really love. She is somewhat unlikable, but that's kind of what I like about her, is that she's unlikable.
But I was like, did you have a moment where I did not much care for Shadow at the beginning, but I found myself getting very attached to him throughout this season. But I felt like in the final episode, I was like, fuck this guy. I hate him.
Oh my god, yes.
Power.
When he was considering killing Laura, he was getting all like angry at her, and I was like, dude, you're like dad freaking had her killed, you know? I mean, I feel like that's being glossed over so much, where it's like, your father had her killed. And it's like, you know what I'm saying?
I also had a moment where I was like, dude, you're being a real dick right now to her, like, where it was like, you don't think I can do great things. Like, very pouty. And I was like, alrighty then.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of respect for you in all one easy swoop.
Yeah, no, exactly, because I think we talked about our last podcast where it's like, you know, seasons 1 and 2, Shadow was fine, he was there, but he really didn't have a whole lot of personality. And in season 3, it's like he had a lot of personality. We got to see more of Shadow, and I really started liking Shadow as a character. I was getting really invested in his storyline. And then in that final episode where he was like, I could be great, and I was like, ooh, Shadow, that's going to, kick you in the ass.
Calm down, Darth Vader. I need you to chill for 5 seconds here. There is one scene I would like to discuss, but I don't know if it's on your pick. It's not on mine, but I have questions about it.
I mean, we talk about it, even if it is on my list.
On the airplane with
Yes.
Wednesday at the end, did that not rip your guts out, like, heart-wise? Oh, it took a lot of convincing for you for it to convince you to love me, to earn your love.
Oh, yeah. So, really quick, I guess I should say that this podcast will contain spoilers, obviously. Yeah, no, to me, that plane scene was so raw, in a sense.
It took
Because,
my heart out. It was sad.
we have Shadow, who now at this point has been saying, oh, you know, I want to achieve what Wednesday has been promising me. And for Wednesday to essentially say, like, I didn't give a shit about you this whole entire time. Like, nothing about this was going to benefit you. You solely exist to help me. Because remember, he said, this has been in motion since before you were born.
I just thought it was so sad. It was like, hey, you could have been, like, gentle with him, but instead you ripped his guts out and then left.
Oh, I think if this season has taught us anything, it's that Odin doesn't care. We've seen seasons where, or episodes where he, sees, maybe he has a heart. Maybe there's something in him that, is real and tangible. And I think that scene was showing, like, no, he is, like, literally the biggest con man. And, like, everyone's been saying it, Sweeney said it, Tier said it, like, everyone's saying it. And it's like, we see that now, that, no, this was all a means to an end since the beginning.
Well, now I just feel bad for Tier.
I started feeling bad for Tier when they first announced him, right? Because when they were doing, like, all the casting announcement, right, for American Gods Season 3, they were talking about, Miss World, Danny Trejo, the others that we see, Liam, but they didn't say him at first. And then I remember, like, a few months going by on Twitter, they just showed a simple picture, and they're like, oh, and Dennis O'Hare is coming as Tyr. And I'm like, I have no idea who this guy is. And his character at first, I was like, this is a little strange. I'm not understanding what the dynamic here is. And then as it kept going, I was like, I feel bad for Tyr now.
I found myself actually getting attached to him. I thought he was very cool. And by the way, I called that scene with Demeter. I fucking called the whole reason that she hated him. And I just want to say that.
She did. I want to tell everyone that Brittany did. I forget when we discussed this, if it was before the season came out or if it was while the season was going, but Brittany definitely said, like, what if it was because they lost a child? And when it happened, it was like, Brittany, were you in the writer's room?
You bet your ass I was screaming that I was right. I mean, I'm always right, but I was even more right then.
Yeah, no, you were. I will tell you that you were right. I think we should get into this list because there's just so much to discuss. Before I do so, I always have to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Stranger Damies, who is the D&D podcast that, if you like Dungeons & Dragons, you're going to love Stranger Damies. They got plenty of 80s references. They got monsters and dragons and all that good stuff. So make sure you check them out over at Stranger Damies, Stranger Damies on Twitter and Instagram. Dan, Mark, Anthony, they're awesome guys. So make sure that you check them out. Make sure you check out their other podcasts as well over at the Main Damie. They Call This a Movie, which is a hilarious podcast where they pretty much rip they happily rip bad movies to shreds, or even good movies. Sometimes there's a movie that it's so bad it's good, and I feel like that's a lot of the movies that they do, and it's just fun. I've been on it. We reviewed Wonder Woman 1984, and I had some of the best time on a podcast that I ever had, so make sure you check it out. But Brittany, without further ado, what is your number 10?
Okay, you're gonna laugh, but it's gonna be a little simple one. I liked when Shadow made it snow for Marguerite.
Oh, for Marguerite?
Yes, because my thing is that it was like, yes, it was very sweet. By the way, I shipped them so hard. I'm not normally invested in the love story of the main character. Like, almost never am I. But I actually really liked her, and I really appreciated that, she was still strong, but she was soft. Like, I was very sad that things didn't work out between them. But, we only see Shadow, I think, make it snow once, and that was in season 1, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so to see him actually come in and kind of just do that slow breathe out, I was like, oh, he actually can use his powers. And, I don't know, it was just a very cute I found myself getting kind of choked up a lot through those last couple of episodes. Like, they were very emotional, but for that, I found myself being like, this is actually really sweet, because he just wants to, impress her.
I loved it. I found myself absolutely rooting for Shadow and Marguerite. Marguerite is the definition of, someone who had these, really high walls up, and Shadow was just able to kind of get through that, because we saw how, reserved she was at first. I mean, she literally held a shotgun to him, and at first she was like, I don't even want to talk to you, and then suddenly it's like she's smiling, she's taking Shadow ice skating. It's like, oh my god, it's like she was just kind of waiting for someone to really come in and down all that ice pretty much. And I loved them in the hot tub, and it's like, I think she says something along the lines of oh, the only thing that would make this better if it was snowing or something like that.
Yeah, because he did it for her, because she said it made her feel like she was in a snow globe, and he was just kind of sitting there, and he was you could see the cogs turning in his head, and he's like, I got this, baby, I got this.
I got this. Yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. It was just their relationship was so great, and I'll say one thing. I don't know if it's on your list or anything, but just a comment on it. And I said this in a review that I actually did with Michael Cook, who is the guy behind Thoroughly Modern Reviewer, another great outlet, so make sure you check that out. But we were saying that we still kind of felt a little confused by Bill Quiss's story. Especially
I'm still very confused.
Very confused. And so at the end, when it was explained that Laura was the other half, I was like, I hope you don't mean in a romantic sense, because I feel like we're finally at the moment where both parties don't want to be with each other. Laura has accepted it and Shadow has accepted it. it's like they're better off in the position that they're in. So I like seeing him with Marguerite because I felt like it was something that was more real. Although, if you want to say this right now, because when Laura was with Shadow, she was the one who was not being truthful about who she really was. And now with Shadow and Marguerite, it's like he's not the one who's truthful. Because remember, he wasn't Shadow to her. He was Mark Ainsel.
Yeah. It made me wonder if, I had, two theories, right? Because I was, talking about two halves and stuff. And part of my brain, by the way, and this is going to be really fucked up, because this is me guessing again, if, Odin, right, had another child, because it's like, oh, they're two halves. I was like,
oh my
if
God.
they made them half siblings, I would fucking die. I literally sat there, I was like, please don't go that route.
If they're half siblings, not only does that suck, but also Laura would think that's the most horrible thing ever. Not even entirely because she was married to Shadow, but because Wednesday would be her dad.
Well, I didn't even think about that. She's like, this is disgusting, this is the worst thing ever. And Shadow would be like, yeah, being siblings. She's like, well, yeah, that part sucks, but being Wednesday's child.
Yeah, that's the awful thing of this. So, yeah, I don't know. This is why we need a season 4 to explain this shit, because I need to know. And also, really quick, I don't know if you noticed when Bilquis had her scene where she was seeing Laura and she was seeing Shadow, she also saw Tech Boy. So I'm like, how does Tech Boy fit into this, you know?
I think since Odin is coming back in his full glory, right, I think everybody's going to have to team up. And I think, I think we saw Chernobog very scared in that moment. And fucking, what's his name? Evis. Yeah. We saw him going, they're like, is it is it an old god or something and
they said, is this the death of the old gods? And I was like, or something much worse.
Yes. And so I think that they're all going to have to team up against Odin, and it's going to take all of them, because this isn't a new god thing. Because, there's so many scenes. I know we're going to get into the top 10, of each of those scenes, so it's kind of relate back to this. It's just everything's making so much more sense now.
Well, so I'll tell you this really quick. When Michael and I were doing our review, we said that this is our ideal team up, our Avengers of American Gods, if you will. It would be Shadow, Laura, what am I going to call this? Bilquis, Tech Boy, and Liam. And Celine. Liam. And Salim. I know he's just a human, but, it's okay. Have Salim there for emotional support or something.
Salim come into
Oh, my God. It was the best. Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about that. But, yeah, so that's my, Avengers lineup of American Gods to go up against Wednesday and Mr. World. Quote, unquote, Mr. World.
Dude, that was another scene. I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. But this is a fantastic scene to start off with Shadow making it snow for Marguerite. I know that this is kind of the end of the Lakeside story, but God, I'd love to see those characters again. They're such great characters. So yeah, great job. Let me see what I want to do here. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, though, really quick, just on a side note, did you find yourself every time anything related to that fucking car, you were like, just go look at the fucking car. Just go
to the car. He kept, looking at the coin, and I'm like, just go in the car. Just go in the car. Why is this?
Tell their fucking dog, just get in the fucking car.
Just get in the fucking car. No, I totally agree. So, yeah. So that's yours. Mine is going to be actually, I really like this scene, and it's a Salim scene, but also a Laura scene. It's with Mr. World as Danny Trejo, talking to Laura and Salim about Laura killing Shadow.
Oh, wait, repeat that last part real quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, remember the scene where Mr. World, as Danny Trejo, has Laura and Salim in his office to go over the whole killing Mr. Wednesday plan.
Yes, I love it. For some reason, I thought you said about Sweeney, and I was like, my
Oh, no,
brain
no, no.
doesn't comprehend that. Yes, I love it.
Well, so the thing that I really love about that, first of all, is, again, we see a more assertive Salim. Remember in that scene where one of, like, as I call it, the children, um, says to Salim, like, oh, maybe you should wait in the lobby. And he's like, I'm done waiting in the lobby. So I was like, power play. I like that.
That's
Let's go.
throwback. It was a good throwback to season 1.
Exactly. And I like that whole scene. I like Laura kind of, again, Laura can be unlikable, and she was being a little patronizing to Celine, where she was like, this isn't Amman. Women can drive, women can vote, women can do this. And he's like, yeah, women can do all of that where I'm from too, you bitch. Like, don't make
Yeah.
it like that. And him pretty much, like, confident in his abilities. He's like, I'm a salesperson. Let me talk on your behalf because I can negotiate this deal. And I like that he had the confidence to say, no, I know what the fuck I'm doing here. And I really like that. I love seeing Danny Trejo interact with Laura and Salim. I love the whole, thing, the plan of it, the reason why Mr. World is saying that they cannot be associated with it. It has to be her because they want Wednesday dead, but they can't do it themselves because then it'll spark a war. So I like that whole thing. It's a small scene, but I just love the interactions because it's something that I never thought I was going to see. And I think I primarily loved it just for Salim being so assertive and confident in it, even though at this point, he's not feeling too well. He's not in a good place, say, mentally and emotionally, but he at least sits there and knows his worth when it comes to that.
I just thought it was really good too because he has kind of been sidelined as like a minor character in a lot of ways since, the Jinn, and to see him really like, hey, cause I guess it's like we don't really know much of his past except of his future. We've seen a little bit of his past when meeting the Jinn, but it was nice to see him kind of in the sense of like, yeah, I was someone back there. I'm not just like, your little taxi boy.
Exactly. It's like I'm not just this like helpless little puppy. It just used Laura's sort of thing for Shadow, but I just really enjoyed it. I love Salim's character development this season. Even though we saw him very down on himself, I know we'll talk about a little bit further into the top 10 right now, but I love seeing his end. I love seeing his end in episode 8. It was really beautiful to me. And I just love him. I thought he was great in it, and I loved the scene with Laura, and it reminded me why these two were good friends because, not to like flex here, but I did get to speak to Omid Abtahi, the actor.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I was like, last time we saw Laura and Salim team up was in season 1, and we had Sweeney there, who kind of provided more like a comic relief between them. So then to see the two of them interact with each other, and you're like, oh, how's this going to work without Sweeney there? And it worked perfectly. It worked better than I imagined.
I thought
the two
it
of them.
actually did work better because it gave them time to focus on each other because it was always Laura being nice to Salim and Sweeney just fucking with him.
Exactly. So to have the two of them have like, a little bit of back and forth. And again, the two of them were in very similar positions this season. Laura having lost Sweeney, Salim having lost the Jinn. And it made for these like great moments that, were very raw. I know I used that word before, but the scene where, Laura's saying, Jinn's not coming back. And he's like, no, you're right. Sweeney's not coming back. The Jinn's not coming back. And that it was just so good because it shows that like they're really good friends and they love each other, but best friends can hurt each other at the same time because they know exactly what to say to hurt the other person. So I don't know, their whole interactions were just great with each other. I don't know if it's on your list, but I'm going to throw it out there really quick. I especially love when Laura like tells Celine that she cares about him. You know, and he's like, I love you. And he's like, I love you too. Because he knows that's Laura Moon talk. Her, I love you.
I love when she like, it takes her back, and she's like I said, trusting the wrong people.
Oh, yeah, like letting him know, like, there you are, again, just like the wrong people, showing you how little Laura thinks of herself, or at least because she can't, you know, break her own walls down. But yeah, so that's my scene is Mr. World pretty much eliciting a murder plot from Laura and Salim. Brittany, what's your number 8?
You're gonna laugh at me because I know there's all these amazing scenes, and it seems silly to like, yeah, this is gonna be the scene I want. I kind of love Chernobog fucking that one lady.
Yes, I knew you were gonna love that. I knew you were gonna love that.
I watched it and I was like, oh no, oh yes.
I knew you were gonna love it. I knew you were gonna love it as soon as it happened. I was like, I cannot wait for Brittany to watch this fucking episode.
Like his lead up with that lady, right? She when she's like, read the sign about like the no smoking, and I thought he would be like, oh, basically like fuck you, but he was like, oh, my apologies, and he like hands her the cigarette, and he's like, oh, do you mind? And I was like, I haven't seen the side of you. And then it flashes, and then suddenly they're fucking it, like, and Laura's so like, ugh, like, you just like, and then a fucking hammer just laying there to the side. And I know there's so many other really good scenes, but for me personally, being such a big Chernobog fan, I was like, this is all I needed. I needed this. Thank you.
No, I agree with you again. As soon as I freaking saw it, I was like, I know Brittany's going to fucking love this. It was hilarious because, as you said, you expected Chernobog to tell her to go, like, fuck herself, right? By the way, I have to say that that whole scene in general was hilarious at that, like, hotel. Because you know how, like, House on the Rock is a real place? I went to look to see if that hotel is a real place, and it's not, because I thought it'd be really funny if it's a real place and it's just getting freaking like roasted on American Gods. Like Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say it would have been a great place for a convention.
Right? I just thought it was really funny when that one woman's like, wow, the last time we were full, and Ibis cuts her off and goes, never. And I just fucking died at that.
What was it? The last time we were what?
So the woman was telling Ibis, like they're all booked up, right? Like all the rooms are booked. And she's like, wow, the last time we were all booked up. And Ibis is like, never. Like, never. You were never all
yes. I think I was like, by the way, like, I could just in case for later on. I love when Chernobog was throwing his fucking fit on the roof, and he was like, "Fuck you" to the moon, and just starts like destroying everything. You just hear the thudding, and freaking Cordelia going, "Are you ever afraid that's not gonna work?" And then he walks in, he's like, "We leave in the morning. I'm going to sleep."
I thought that was so great. I love the little scene of Chernobog with the woman. I was kind of happy to see him get some action. I'm sure that it doesn't happen often. I'm sure it doesn't happen often for him. So, I thought that was great. Whatchamacallit? I have a question to ask. We talked briefly about this last time, but, I really have ended up loving Cordelia in this show. And I love particularly her like attachment to Shadow, not in like a bad way where it's like she views Shadow like family almost. She like runs and like hugs him. Like she's not like afraid to be that close and feel that way, even though maybe they don't know each other that well or anything.
They're
It's like,
like siblings.
yeah, exactly. So I felt like most bad for her when Wednesday died because it's like she doesn't know, like she hasn't experienced what Shadow has experienced or anyone else to see like you shouldn't be that sad. But yeah, I love the whole hotel scene. I loved Chernabog. He was great in this last episode because I was wondering, when we were going to see much of him because we didn't see a whole lot of him this season.
By the way, is he the one that made everything go scary and black, like when she first threw the spear? Like, and I know we'll go into that later too, but was that him?
I don't know if that was him or that was just supposed to be like the way the filming was to show like there's like don't focus on anything else. It's these things like this moment that you have to focus on. I felt that was. Sorry,
The clouds came from behind him. Sorry, I like the clouds came from behind him, and he literally is the darkness. That's his.
Well, then I thought that was Wednesday's doing because he controls the weather. So it's like I don't know whose that was.
Oh, I want to know now.
No, but I loved it. I thought it was great. So definitely Chernabog fucking I don't know what she's called. The receptionist, the bellhop, like whatever she was.
A little like all of it with that few of guests.
What did you say?
I said with that few of guests, who knows?
Yeah, right. Which begs like the question: how are they still in business if, say, no one goes there practically?
Oh no, she must be lonely there. Well,
Right? She's like
lonely for one night.
That's why she went with Chernabog because she's so lonely.
Oh no.
But yeah, I love it. I think that's a great number 8. I'm gonna go to number 7, and I'm just gonna put it out here. I love meeting Liam. I'm just gonna put Liam Doyle. That's it.
Yes.
That's the thing, Liam Doyle. First of all, I love that episode, episode 8. I literally have it on in the background right now. I loved everything about it. I loved finding out about the Peacock Hotel. I loved Tony. I loved Salim getting his groove on in it. I loved that whole thing. But I loved Laura meeting Doyle. I love her going in and she's like, God, another fucking leprechaun. And I love when she sees him at the bar and she says that she's Laura Moon and his first thing is don't fuck with me. I was like sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, I just say I would be the same too. I'd be like, no.
And she's like, what the hell? And I love the reveal that Wednesday was going to hire him to kill her, and he decided not to do it, and that's why Wednesday destroyed his coin. Because before the season came out, when Ewan Rion, I'm not sure if I'm saying the actor's name correctly, I'm probably not, but when he was saying that Wednesday destroyed his coin, I was like, why? And now it makes more sense. So I like that explanation, which again begs the question, does Wednesday just go to leprechauns to do his dirty work? He's just like...
Yeah. I guess they're notorious scumbags because they are kind of scumbags in the mythology realm.
Is that why Liam says, he's like, I always knew I was a bit of a scumbag, but when the Lord of all scumbags comes to you to do his dirty work, you've gone somewhere wrong in life. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
They're kind of like tricksters. They're kind of like, I don't know. I consider them more of they're in the Fae spectrum, which are kind of assholes as it is.
Okay, so there you go. So that's a good explanation, but yeah, there's so much to say about Liam. I'm just going to go through it quickly where it's like, I love that, at first Laura was really hesitant about Liam. And I love that the episode you thought that maybe he really did just fuck off with the coin. You know, the whole episode you can see him back, and you're like, oh my god, did he literally just take the coin and run with it? And then when he comes back out of the horde, and he's so, like, freaked out, where he was just like, I didn't think I was getting back here. He was like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy, in reference to Matt Sweeney. I love that shit. I was like, this is hilarious.
Like, whenever, like, she goes, I didn't think you were coming back, and he's like, yeah, me neither.
Yeah. Me either. You and me both. And I love where he's like, no. I know that spear. That's not just a regular spear. That's Gungnir. What are you going to do with it? And her just like, I'm going to go kill Wednesday. Like, I love that shit. And,
Accepted it. No, oh, you betrayed me. No, this. He was just like, alrighty then.
And I'll say really quick before I pass on to you to get your thoughts that I loved the scene where he was teaching her how to throw the sword, not sword, but the spear, and where she almost slept with him because she was like, oh, I might die, I'm alive again, like, you're good looking, and at first it was going to happen, and then it didn't. I thought that was really great character development for her, and I love that he wasn't, like, mad about it. He was just kind of like, you're very cynical. Like, you're very serious, and we should just talk about, like, bowling or skydiving or something like that.
Yeah. No, I really appreciated that scene because it's like if she had slept with him, I would have been like perfectly fine with that. But I thought it was nice that she's like, I want to be different. I want to not have to like chase sex to be like, a way of escaping.
Well, I think that's what Laura was saying. She was like, that's what I did all the time. I just like randomly slept with guys because, I didn't think about myself enough to, it's like I understood what she was saying, right? And I love that she decided not to do it, where it's like, yes, you're very good looking and, probably would want to do this and maybe at some point it'll happen, but like not for the simple excuse of like, oh, I'm going to die tomorrow, like, let me just do this without thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like I understood where she was coming from there.
Yeah.
So I really like that. Again, I like that Liam didn't take it offensively. He wasn't like, oh, well, so we're not fucking? Like, damn. I did like his little comment, though, where he was like, and I was just getting used to the idea.
So, I gotta say about this?
Yeah. But what do you think about Liam, our new leprechaun?
At first I was like, God, they're really going to just shoehorn another leprechaun into us? It's like, nothing replaces Sweeney. And then I was like, but I really like this guy, and I hate that I like him so much.
I really like him. I loved his personality. I thought he was great. And again, that's why I said that I want to see him team up with them next season. But did you kind of worry that Chernobog did hit him?
I was worried for a second, and then I was like really hoping that it was just more of like just a glancing blow.
Yeah. I think that was the thing where it's like if he didn't have the coin, it probably would have fucking clocked him in the head and killed him. But because he had his coin, it was like more of like a swipe, and we saw him go into the horde at that point. He wouldn't have been able to go into the horde if he was dead.
Yeah, did you not have a moment, by the way, where you're like, there's something I was going to say about him. I'm trying to remember. Oh, that the spear was going really fucking slow in that scene. And you're like, I mean, Chernobog is like trying to murder them, and the span is taking the spear to get over to fucking Odin.
Well, I was so worried. I was like, oh my god, it's like, did they just introduce Liam just to kill him off? I was watching that whole scene just unfold, sitting there going like, no, I just got Liam, and I don't need to see him leave.
I know, they just killed Sweeney. Let us have something.
Let us have something. So in the last episode, when Laura's like, where's Doyle? And they're like, World said, your contract or your agreement doesn't cover that guy. And I'm like, okay, but he's alive, right? Like, I can accept that, maybe he's not under the protection, but he is alive at least. That's what I took it as.
He got the big bonk.
I was just like, don't you do it, Chernobog. Don't you do it. But yeah, so.
Of every character I love killing one of your characters.
Yes, that's exactly what. See, I don't like this. But no. So yeah, number 7 is just like Liam Doyle entirely. I love this character. I was waiting for him to come in. Because I really like the actor, so I was like, when are we going to see Liam? And I'm happy that we finally did. So yeah, that's my number 7. Brittany, what's your number 6?
Let me see here. Because I kind of changed up my list as we've been going on.
Okay.
I'm going to go with... Is this my third pick?
Yes.
I'm going to go with Demeter turning back to Grain.
Yeah. By the way, before you go into that, Brittany was texting me yesterday, like in all caps, saying, did Demeter just die?
I was so upset. I cried real human tears, Tia. Real human tears. It wasn't fair. Now, but you know what's funny? So, okay, the scene I'm talking about is with Demeter, like, she signed the paperwork. Odin's like, oh, I've gotten you to leave. It's great. Like, we're going to go. I won. You almost just, like, he doesn't say it, but I almost kind of got that vibe from him. And when she, like, where Cordelia's like, oh, she's outside. And he looks outside, and she's just looking back at him and slowly returning to the sky, and it starts pouring rain because she said that she never got a chance to, like, actually mourn her lost child. And it's like, I thought that was, like, her way of grieving, but also, like, what got me was whenever Odin is like, okay, we'll leave, and then, about the old gods, and it was like he just couldn't stop. And I shipped Tyr and Demeter so hard, and I didn't want to, but I did, because he was always there for her.
He was clearly the better person for Demeter.
I loved when the orderly was like, this Odin guy is kind of a dick. Like, critic.
I love the scene, by the way, when Tyr is telling Wednesday, like, actually listen to her, don't, to me it was just so clear that they loved each other, because when Odin was doing that, like, little play, Tyr was sitting behind Demeter and, like, put his hand on her shoulder, and she, like, reached back and held it. Like, so it was very clear that they loved each other. But yeah, that scene with Demeter returning to Grain was very sad. I kind of found it a little funny, and I'll only tell you because it's like the idea of being with you literally just makes me want to turn back to dust. It's like, I'd rather do this.
I thought it was like the ultimate fuck you, like, like, oh, you think you've won? Well, you haven't. You know what I mean? It's very, like, it's very powerful.
I felt that way as well. Where, whatchamacallit. What was I going to say? Yeah, I felt that way as well because Odin really felt like he won. And as you said, he couldn't help himself. They're literally talking about their lost child. They're talking about their lost love. And then he couldn't help but talk about the fucking war with the new gods. And it's like, not the time, dude. Not the time.
Well, one thing that got me is Tyr said, just listen to what she wants. And he never asked her once what she actually wanted.
Right, because she said that she wanted to stay in that place. That she felt like a goddess. And he, diminished that. And it's like, dude, it doesn't matter what you think about it. If that's how she feels worshipped, who the fuck cares?
And the whole time I was like, ever since that last scene with Wednesday, I'm second-guessing every loving relationship he's ever had.
I don't think he's ever, like, loved once. I think that was the point, and I think that that's what the show is trying to tell us, that this is a guy who literally doesn't care. I don't think it's, like, to me, I think the only death I think he cared about, in my personal opinion, was the death of Donar. The only one.
Yeah, that and Zariah.
Sometimes I think about that. I'm like, did he? I don't know.
Part like, or was it just a ploy to get the old gods all
Was it
wound?
just exactly what did he use that to his advantage? Did he have a feeling? Because again, not to go into it fully, but it's very obvious that Mr. World is who I think Mr. World is.
Yeah.
Mr. World is who I think Mr. World is. Then that death was completely planned.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't think about that. Oh no, he's a monster. I love Wednesday, and now I hate him.
What is a better way to rally the old gods who are feeling as if they didn't want to be part of Wednesday's war, for Wednesday to show that the new gods will indeed kill the old gods? Because before they were like, oh, the old gods aren't, before the old gods were like, the new gods aren't doing anything, they're just there, we just can live. And Wednesday showed them, no, they're willing to kill one of our own. Someone like Zariah, they're willing to kill. And it's like everyone got rallied and shit like that. Yeah. That was planned. That was 100% planned.
I've never felt more attacked in my entire life.
Well, that's kind of what makes Demeter great, where it's like she knew Odin's bullshit. She didn't fall for it anymore. She was like, everyone else is. I won't. I'd literally fucking die. Literally rather die than be with you.
You know what's funny? It's like, sitting back, you definitely see why the old gods are so weary of him now.
Yeah, this whole time everyone's like, what's the opposite of welcoming someone with open arms? Like, arms crossed with him, And you realize that now is because they've all seen all the evidence before that says, like, you should not trust this guy at all.
I feel like we're going to see a moment kind of like, in The Resident where there's a big flashback that reveals the whole plot leading up, like everything that's been happening. I feel like we're going to get that eventually.
I hope so. That is a thing that I feel like is earned. But I love Demeter. I knew that you were going to love Demeter. I still feel, even though we saw Demeter leave, right? I still feel that in season 4, because I'm not going to talk about a hypothetical season 4. Season 4 is happening, all right? I'm speaking it into existence. In season 4, with Shadow being on the world tree, right? There's a need for her. In the book, it's Easter, right?
Yeah.
Well, the actress who played Easter left, so rather than recasting Easter, you just get a god that does the same exact thing. So I think they still introduced her to show, like, she's still there when we need her. So that was my opinion.
If we think that she can do what we think she can do, and this is like a spoiler thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What could she not have brought back her own child, do you think? Or do you think that was too much?
It may have been too much. Perhaps, maybe.
God and not enough worship for a god that nobody believes in yet?
Yeah, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. That wasn't anything that they had to deal with in the book when they were using Easter. So that is a little bit of a plot hole that, we probably wouldn't find an explanation for. But I'm kind of okay with
it. I think we just go under like that theory and go, yeah, that's fine, that's good enough.
Can I tell you something so funny? So every time we do an American Gods podcast, I always like to have it in the background just to, think about it and be in like the mood. And it's the scene where Cordelia is driving and she like sniffs herself and realizes she needs deodorant. And I'm like, well, why is Cordelia the most relatable person?
I know. And why is I love that she loves Wednesday.
I know, and it makes me sad because I'm like, he's gonna break your heart.
Oh, that reminds me of like when I was pipelining. It was like my boss was stop trying to impress me because I'm never gonna be happy. Like, never, nothing's ever enough. Like, he was joking, but he was being serious, right? And it
Yeah.
makes me think of, like, it made me think of Wednesday, where it's like, stop trying to impress me, nothing's ever good enough.
I know. It just makes me sad. I really hope to see more of her in season 4. I hope it's not one of those things where it's like, all right, well, you're not the driver anymore. You're not needed, so we have no need for you. It's like, no, you introduced a really great start of a like friendship between Shadow and Cordelia, and I don't want to see that leave.
I mean, neither. I feel like it's supposed to be a big team up, and I feel like, you're gonna have Chernobog, you're gonna have the others. It was just like, by the way, freaking Chernobog cares a lot for someone that wants to bash freaking Shadow's head in.
I know. Yeah. It's their relationship is certainly a strange one. I have to say that I enjoyed. This is a touchy subject, but I enjoyed seeing Chernobog and Ibis essentially be Shadow's like guardians in that sense, even
Yeah.
though in the book that's supposed to be Mr. Nancy. So they clearly are moving Ibis.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're clearly moving Ibis in more of that sort of role. But whatchamacallit it? Yeah, so it's like I did enjoy the dynamic, but it is still should know that the reason why that's happening is because Mr. Nancy isn't a part of it.
Yeah. I'm about to say, like, that makes sense, but now I'm sad about it all over again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was talking to Michael on when we did our review, right? And I said something to the effect of the only reason really why I kind of prefer this is because, Chernobog is so brash, right? And Ibis is so even keeled. And so you have Chernobog who's so brash, and Mr. Nancy in the show is so like, a big personality. It's like I'm not sure if that's something that would have worked with Shadow. He kind of needs like a more even keeled person. But
Okay.
Michael reminded me that in the book, Mr. Nancy is a lot more toned down than he was in the show.
So it's kind of like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I just wanted to throw it out there, but I love Demeter turning into grain. I loved you crying over it. Only because I was like,
yeah, what the heck?
No, I love hearing your emotional reaction to the show because it's like, that's what I want to elicit from people. It's a good show. So I'm glad that you felt this.
I feel like I should explain, too, for anybody listening. It's like, I love Demeter especially because I love the story of Persephone and Hades, and Demeter is the mother of Persephone that mourned her, like, being taken to, Hades, to Tartarus, and being, like, and she mourned by throwing the world into a famine.
Yeah, exactly.
Very like Demeter.
Yeah, exactly. And I just love Blythe Danner as Demeter too. That actress was so wonderful in that role. So yeah, great number 6. I'm gonna hit number 5, and I'm gonna put Laura saying goodbye to Sweeney. Which So can I explain something really quick? Now that the season is over, I can kind of say this. So I was given a spoiler list of all the episodes before the season came out, right? Because I was in touch with the press team and I got screeners and everything, and they gave us a list of all. At first, they gave us a list of only the first 9 episodes, right? I got the episode 10 later, but I was given a list of all the spoilers to not mention, right, prior to the episodes coming out. But when they gave you the episodes to watch, it was like I got the first 4. I got then blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So my point in saying that is I saw the screeners and I saw the spoilers for the episodes before I watched them. So in episode 8, when it says under the spoiler list of things not to reveal, Laura saying goodbye to Sweeney. but I hadn't seen the episode yet, so I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I remember I was talking to Michael on a podcast before the season came out, and he was like, maybe Laura goes into the Horde and sees Sweeney there. Maybe Sweeney comes back, but she has to say goodbye to him. Maybe that. So it's like all these speculations of like, are we going to see Sweeney back? Are we going to see Sweeney back? And then when you see it, and it's like it's her saying goodbye, like tossing his ashes into the water. I was like, oh no, this is heartbreaking.
Did you not die laughing when she was like, fuck you, bye? And
it's so Laura. It's so Laura. Like, you know, and I love the lead up to that, right? Laura thinks that she really fucked up. She thinks that Liam really left with the spear. She's not going to be able to kill Wednesday. You know, not only is she going to die, but Salim and Shadow are going to die. You know, she feels like she fucked up everything, which, you know, she had already felt like she had fucked up before because, remember, she was trying to bring Sweeney back. And she accidentally put, you know, the coin in his hand, which was admittedly the worst place you could have put it. You should have put it in his mouth. But, you know, she fucked that up. She fucked up her marriage. She fucked up everything, right? So she's feeling so low on herself, but she realizes that she has to say goodbye because she's been carrying around that box. And Celine made it very, you know, obvious to her that, like, hey, you're getting on me for not moving on from the gin, but you're not moving on from Sweeney. And so her...
Sure.
What'd you say?
I'm glad he lost the sweater.
I am too. I was like, I have a comment on that. Remind me to bring that back. I just want to talk about the Laura thing, but I have a comment about that. Okay. I was going to say that, you know, so you see Laura standing on the bridge and she's like taking like this big breath in. She's like, I fucked up again. And she's just sitting there. And it's like, you know, again, you know, just like how she was with Celine, you know that she wanted to say, I love you, but she can't because she's Laura. So her going, all right, fuck you, goodbye, like knowing that she had to do it like really quickly. And I was just like, it's so Laura, but it's the validation that I need as someone who ships Matt Sweeney and Laura together. I was like, it's the validation, even though he's dead and they can't be together. It's at least the validation that I need. But I wanted to say, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I wish she had said it, but I understand why she didn't.
I understand why she didn't. Like, I think that it wouldn't have been in her character to be like, I love you. I think to me, again, when she said to Salim, like, I fucking care about you, and then he goes, I love you too, and she doesn't say, like, oh, whoa, I didn't say that. It's like, you know that that's what she means. It's just, this is Laura. She's stubborn as fuck. So I really like that, as sad and bittersweet as it was. I wanted to say about the Salim thing is that I loved him losing the sweater, and I feel like again, when I talk to Omid, I hate throwing that. Like, I like throwing that, but I also hate sounding like I'm flexing here. But no, when I said to,
flex, girl.
When I was talking to Omid, who's just so nice, by the way, I said that I love the actor who plays the Jinn, right? I love Musa. But either I don't want him, like, I want him to come back, right? I do want him to come back, but I almost don't want him and Salim to get back together. And he kind of laughed, and he's like, well, you know, if they do get back together, like, there's going to have to be some major ground rules. And it's like, oh, yeah, Salim is going to have to tell the Jinn, like, off.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I would love to see that, because I mean, the Jinn shook his face, he shook everything, he kept turning to his life, and then just disappeared.
Right? He just literally, like, up and left, and that was just so wrong.
I know, it was very sad, but I love the scene of him, like, getting with that one guy, and I thought it was awesome.
I loved it. I was like, yes, Salim, do it. I thought it was great, but what did you think about Laura saying goodbye to Sweeney?
Oh, I cried again. It was a very emotional season for me, Tia.
It was. It was very sad.
I was like, can we just have happiness for 5 seconds? Oh, no, we can't? Well, okay, then fuck you too.
We had slight happiness in Lakeside, and then even that, we couldn't have nice things.
I know, right? But it was just like, I don't know. I know why she didn't say I love you, but I was like, wanted it so bad, but like I knew why we couldn't, but it was still like, you know what I mean, where it's just so emotional and raw. You're just like, please.
Well, if there was ever a moment for Laura to say that she loves Sweeney, it was that moment.
Yeah. And I think it's just like, it just made me really miss Sweeney, and I wish he would come back. And it really was the moment where we're like, he's not coming back.
Yeah, the moment where you realize, like, this is it. This is, not only is Laura saying goodbye to Sweeney, this is essentially like, we have to say goodbye to Sweeney. I think what I loved about Laura so much this season is that, I feel like obviously she wants to kill Wednesday because, for her own reasons he killed her. But don't you feel like Sweeney dying was the final straw, where she was like, I'm going to avenge him, and this is for Sweeney.
Yeah, like I don't think she'd be near as pissed. If it was just her and she got her life back together, she'd be done. Because we did see her work with Wednesday whenever she wanted to get a little bit better.
Right. So it's like, yeah, she was pissed, but just to echo what you were saying, if she was able to be brought back to life and Sweeney was still alive, then I think she would have just went on her way, But the fact that Sweeney was killed, I think to her was just such a huge driving factor. And I'm telling you again, as like a mad wife shipper, as she was like throwing the spear, I was like, for Sweeney!
I know, like, you know what's funny is beforehand I was like a little sad because I was like, oh no, because I like and then when he did that shit to Shadow at the end, I was like, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
Back.
It's a really funny thing, right? When the scene happened where Laura says goodbye to Sweeney's ashes, someone, I guess, tagged Pablo Schreiber in it, and he tweeted, he goes, yes, good. He's like, now she can move on and be the badass and kill that one-eyed fuck.
Yes.
And I'm like, I love seeing him support, even though he's not on the show anymore.
I know. By the way, I felt like I could hear your hands clapping, like where you were really putting emphasis on it, and made me laugh.
I'm using my microphone this time. It should be picking up shit. I feel all official with my microphone.
No, I love it. I'm just dying.
Do you have a microphone when you do your stream? You do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I really like the one I'm using, by the way. I'm not sponsored or anything. I'm just saying. I really like this one.
No, I need to use my mic more, but it's way more comfy to lay here.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, you know what it is? Because this is so off topic and so, like, behind the scenes, but, like, who cares? People listen to us. They know we talk about shit. So many times I use my headphones when we're doing this through my phone, and I go back and listen, and there's kind of, like, this, like, tingy sort of sound, and I really think it comes from my headphones, because it's only when I talk, it's not when you talk. So I'm like, maybe if I start using my microphone, it'll be different.
Yeah, because what it is I think sometimes that noise comes from a, what's it called? Like too high of a gain, or like you get it a lot with like headset mics and everything. Mm-hmm. But whatever kind of mic you got, you may just get like a little, what's it called? Like a foam covering for it.
Yeah. I may get that. Yeah, I'm trying to make my way up in this world and in the podcast world. It's all about getting better equipment.
Are you making your way uptown, walking fast in your home now?
By the way, all right, really quick, again, off topic, because the show is playing in the background, the scene when Wednesday goes to Chernobog, to say, like, maybe we should talk about peace to world. Didn't Chernobog kind of look good in that like shirt and everything in his overalls. So I was like, okay, I see you. And also,
a day's work.
why is so this is my theory again. Why is Wednesday so gung-ho, right? This entire series about the war. And then literally in this episode, coming to frickin' Chernobog all defeated, like, oh, let's do peace. You can say, like, oh, it's because he lost Demeter. And I say, no, it's because there was a plan in action because he knew that Laura was going to meet him at a certain place at a certain time to do things and everything. And it's like, this is all, and you had to go there all sad to make it seem a certain way to Chernobog. He's such a scammer, Brittany. He's such a scammer.
I sat there and thought it was because he wanted to renew and show, the old gods, like, oh, yeah, these guys will never, never work with us.
Right. No. I think, I don't know. Wednesday is just such a fucking scumbag.
I know. I went from loving him to, I feel, and I took that personally.
You did love Wednesday. I have proof on these top tens that how much you love Wednesday.
He broke our trust, Tia. I feel like Ian McShane would hear this and be like just cackling his evil little old man laugh.
He'd be like, well, didn't you read the book? It's very obvious.
You said with your freaking interview, he was just like basically Wednesday.
Oh my god, it was so hilarious, our interview, right? Because when I interviewed Ian McShane, it was before episode 9 had come out. But I had seen the episode prior, right? So I said to him, I go, I'm going to put this interview out after episode 9 comes out, so maybe we can talk about spoilers. Because, episode 9 is the one that Wednesday is killed, so it's like, it'd be cool if we could talk about this. And he was like, oh, yeah, no, he's like, I love spoilers. He's like, I don't believe in that whole don't say something because it's going to spoil, And it's like, it's so obvious because he was like revealing things that not only not only was he talking about episode 9, he was talking about what happened in episode 10 that hadn't come out. And then he was talking about things that would be revealed in the season 4. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Ian, none of this stuff has happened yet. And if you're not a book reader, you don't know any of this shit. Like, he was like, well, what if Mr. World is? And in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly who he is. But people don't know that.
I know. That's like the equivalent when you're like going to watch a movie or a book and somebody is like, oh, you're going to love the big twist. And it's like, well, now I'm expecting a twist.
Yeah, now my expectations are here where I'm like going to wait for the twist. If there's no twist or it doesn't live up, then I'm going to be severely disappointed.
Joke's on us, we're always disappointed.
Joke's on you, always disappointed. But yeah, sorry, I had to say it was just like, again, that ending, I'll talk about it in a second, but that ending was so obvious where it was like, they're going in the direction of Mr. World. And I gotta tell you, I'm kind of liking it. And we talked before where we wouldn't be down for it because of the way they were setting up, but ever since season 3, I'm like, I now accept it, and I need it to happen. If it doesn't happen, then that's not cool.
I think it would be very awkward if it didn't happen now.
Yeah, exactly. They laid the groundwork. By the way, did you feel that Tech Boy and Mr. World were essentially the reflection and mirror image of Shadow and Wednesday? It was like both of them got betrayed this season.
I know that freaking Tech is just like, I'm just trying to live my life and be normal, and I found out I'm some kind of badass, and you're keeping me from this.
Yes.
So quick. Like, by the way, Utini did so good imitating him.
Well, so what should we call it? Wait, so you're number 4, right? I'll tell you right now that scene is my number 30.
Okay. I'll stay away from it then. I'll stay away.
All right, so, but what is your number 4?
Let me see here. Where's on my list? Number 4. So I have 2 left.
Yes.
I'm trying to think. I'm gonna go with Tech versus the children.
Oh, that was such a good scene.
Is that okay? Is that on your
Yeah.
list?
No, no, no.
Okay. The reason I loved it so much was because it was like, he breaks out and you're like, okay, he's on a warpath now. Like when Mr. World's all creepy and he's like, oh, like almost like mocking, and I was thinking, dude, he's about to get out. He's very salty right now. But I was also like, Tech, you want to give it more than 5 seconds of him leaving before you try to do like this big massive breakout, please?
I
Uh,
felt the same way.
like, if you give it like 5 seconds, please. And so that part was so good. And then like the part where he's just eating the raw data, and that one person was like, that's so messed up. And he's just looking like a hungry little like badger.
That scene was so great. Sorry, go ahead.
Whole series, and I
Continue.
just loved him and I guess it leads in, as long as it's okay, of him finding the flint.
So, whatchamacallit, I loved Tech getting out of the head grabber, and then I loved him like he like put his fingers into like the children's like heads, and he was
That was
like,
so nasty.
but it was badass. I was like, Tech Boy is definitely exuding some like big dick energy over here.
He was very salty about what happened to him, and he's
Mhm.
like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm very tired of it. I'm tired of being treated like an asshole.
And I liked when he reversed the head grabber onto the other guy. He was like, he goes, didn't you think if I could get out of that shit that I wouldn't reprogram it, you know? And I was like, oh, thank God.
I thought it was like awesome to see him actually like be okay again. And I'm trying not to like encroach upon your like number 3 for like the reason why. I just love the whole scene in general because he was so violent.
It was so funny he chose violence that day.
Chose violence, yes. I really appreciate this growth that he's gone through, because I really thought they were gonna kill him off quick. Because did you think when he was being all creepy and like all lynchy in season 1 that you were actually gonna come to like him?
Hell no. In season 1, I couldn't stand him. I was like, this little fucker over here. I couldn't stand him because, he was just such this, like, little asshole, right? I think the only part that I think I really liked of him in season 1, just because I thought it was so funny, was the Vagina Nebula line. To me, I was like, okay, that's funny.
That was funny. I just like I don't know. He's worthless, but he's our worthless little baby.
I started really liking him in season 2. Because you start seeing more of him. You started, like, it became more tangible, and then him against, like, new media, who I'm sorry to say was just so insufferable to me. I was like,
Media.
and I feel bad because, like, I'm sure the actress is really nice in real life. I just couldn't stand her character. So to me, I was like, to see Tech Boy against her, said more. Then we get the backstory of Tech Boy, right? And then you get, like, where you feel bad for him because his friend isn't paying attention to him, So anyway, my whole point is that I started really liking Tech Boy and started seeing that, hey, there's this, like, huge division between him and Mr. World. That's interesting. I'd love to see that developed more. And so I like that they did that in season 3. And I especially liked, again, I know I keep saying this all the time, but the book, right? This isn't really a spoiler, it's in my opinion, because I feel at this point they're never going to go in this direction. What they did in this season was their way of kind of putting elements in it without doing it. So just to let everyone know, in the book, Tech Boy literally kills Bilquis by running over her in his limo. And
Pretty fucked up.
yeah, Which is really bad because he has a line in the book where he was like, "You're a material girl living in a digital world." You know, like he has this line. So when he kills Bilquis as she's dying puts a curse on Tech Boy, and it drives Tech Boy crazy, but you're never given an explanation as to why he's going crazy, and he's like literally banging himself into, walls, and it essentially drives him so insane that he dies as a result, right? So it's like to see them use elements of that in this, but then turn it around where it's like he accepts it, just so great. So great.
Do you not feel like Bilquis, really helped him for someone that, he's really fucked with this entire series?
In reality, Bilquis gave Tech Boy the best gift that, and I don't think she was doing it to, benefit him. She was angry at him when she shoved him and kind of injected that whole thing into him. But in fact, I think it was the best thing that could have been done because it helped Tech with his growth.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But I love Tech versus the Children. Fun fact that Bruce Langley revealed on Twitter, because when he's eating the raw data, I said where I was like, I wonder if that's like a fruit roll-up that they just put like black food dye in. And I actually tweeted that out to him during like the live viewing of the episode, and he was like, no, that would have been better. It was like Velcro or something that he had to keep like spitting out.
No! I feel like you should go the black roll-up.
I'm like, why can't you just have given him a fruit roll-up?
I can imagine, though, some poor fucking intern just, rubbing black food dye into, fruit roll-ups from Walmart.
He's sitting there, he's all angry. He's like, this is big work. I can't believe I'm doing this. I don't get paid enough.
If it was back in the old day, you wouldn't get paid at all.
Right? The interns weren't paid at all at some point. They really were free labor. And I know this because I did intern at a place for free.
That was my biggest fear when I started, interning at the IT department. I fully was expecting not to get paid, and they were like, why the fuck wouldn't we pay you? What are you talking about? And I was like, well, you see, my friend.
Well, I think it's a thing now where they're required to pay. I think something went into effect where they're like, if this is free labor that, companies are taking advantage, and so they got rid of the whole free interns. So they have to, I think, by law, pay you something.
As a side note, you do free labor forever, and it's like, oh, what do you get? Well, you might get a job, or we get rid of you the moment you're eligible for hiring.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's like, oh, well, you interned for the experience. And it's like, you're not always going to get hired there. And then it's like, once you do that, that's the end of your connection. And then, okay, you can say that you interned maybe for a semester. And you're like, okay, so?
So?
So yeah. Whatchamacallit? Where are we going with the whole intern thing? Oh, yeah, the whole intern with the fruit roll-up. So, they're getting paid at least now. But yeah, I love Tech versus the Children. I just love seeing badass Tech. I'm like, yes, go do it. I think that he is, even before we'll talk about the reveal in a second, but even before that, I was like, he's the god of technology. Like, that has to be a very powerful god. Which I love. What did he say when they put the head grabber back on him? He's like, I am the Lord of humanity. And I kind of thought that was funny.
He's like, I am a Lord of humanity. And I was like, you were getting very intense right now. I'm going to need you to dial that back to a 10 instead of the 20 that you were at.
Yeah, exactly. So I loved it. Number 4, Tech versus the Children. I'm going to get number 3. And it is going to be Tech and Bilquis while in the head grabber. Like Bilquis as Tech's subconscious.
I love it. By the way, really quick, just on that note, do you not love that they call it the head grabber?
The head grab. Yeah. How? What else are you gonna call it? Right? It's like I don't even know how else to call that shit.
Uh, virtual torture? I don't
Yeah.
know.
But yeah, tell Brittany, tell me you didn't love this scene. Like, tell me it wasn't so unexpected where you're like, wait, what am I watching right now? This is the best thing ever.
I think if I hadn't seen that GIF, right, I would have been taken so off guard. But it was so alarming because Utini, like the way she like flipped her switch to acting like tech, like really like caught me off guard in a good way. Where I was like, what the fuck is going on? But when she grabbed the fucking nuts and was like, I'm gonna rip them off, little pussy boy, or something like that, and then I'm gonna like, I was like, oh shit.
Oh my god. Yeah, so in the spoiler list, right? That's never said. So I didn't know about that scene. So I'm watching it for the first time and like watching it unfold was so like jarring, but in a good way where I'm like, wait, is this really happening?
Yes, yes it is.
I just thought it was so great. But as you said, like give Yetede all of the awards just for that scene alone. The fact that she did such a like you could tell in her voice she was trying to imitate like how Tech Boy's voice is, and it's just like what did she say? She's like she called him a douche canoe. She's like, well, I'm not doing it for you, you douche canoe.
Yeah, it's like when she was like, "Did your subconscious have to do everything for you?" And I was like, "Dude, I love whenever I love that he's very proud." By the way, I know that's gonna sound weird, but like whenever she threatens to rip them off, and he's just like, "You couldn't even if you wanted to, because this is in my mind," and like most dudes would be like, "No, not my nuts."
Yeah, no, I loved it so much. Where he was like, because then what the line before that was like, I couldn't even scratch my balls if I wanted to. And she's like, well, oh yeah, and she goes, I'm not doing it for you, you douche canoe. I love that so much. As you said, like, um, what was he saying? He was saying something along the lines of like, I don't have emotions. Why are you talking about subconscious? And she's like, you do now. And she's like, pay attention, fuckhead. She was like, you can't unthink a thought, And she was like, bringing it to him in a logical way where it's like, yeah, you got emotions now, buddy. You can get yourself out of this. You always could.
I wonder if it's like, did he always have emotions? That she just unlocked them, or is it, what I mean, what is it?
My personal feeling is that he always had them. She just unlocked him. Given what we find out later about him, I just think that in this version of himself, he came with, a layer that blocked those, but I think that they were always there.
Yeah.
Which we saw, in the scene where he's like hiding the automaton in the, 1890s. He was definitely feeling emotions at that point. Which calls it. I love that whole thing. I thought it was so great. I loved like the little therapy powwow when they're sitting down and she's like, all right, what's wrong? And he's like, I want World to get his fucking boot off my neck.
I thought that was very telling. It's like, it was very much like abusive dad.
100%. It definitely was, where it was like World was holding Tech Boy back. Imagine if Tech Boy could have just had free reign of himself.
You know what I just had a realization? And tell me if I'm wrong real quick. And I know this may sound crazy. Okay, can we go back to the reveal real quick, or is that your number one?
It's kind of my number one, but we can still talk about it really quick.
Just like my only thing on it is if we go to who we think Mr. World is, do you not think that he actually would be Mr. World's child? Because wouldn't that be the ultimate, like, mischievous thing to give humans that kind of power?
I mean, who knows? I saw some people online thinking that Tech Boy was really Prometheus, um, you know, the
Which
god
would
of like
make
fire,
sense.
which
Because that's
would
normally
make
like
sense.
a very tech used word. You know what I mean?
Right, Prometheus. So it could be. I'm not sure, honestly, about that. If that's the direction that they went with it, um, that's cool. But I think that Tech Boy predates Mr. World, even. So that's
That's
my
probably
thing. Like,
true.
yeah, so I was talking about it, with Michael from Thoroughly Modern Reviewer, where it's like, if you think about it, there's not many older gods than Tech Boy, right? Who is older than that, right? Besides that, I think that, didn't they say, remember in season 1 when we saw in the police station the gods with the tree, right? Because they say the first thing that humans worshipped was like nature and shit. So it's like, that has to be probably the only god that's older than Tech Boy.
That's true. Well, another thing is, and this kind of like spoiler towards, the book and everything, but if Tech isn't a new god per se, and Mr. World may not be a new god, who are the new gods?
I almost feel as if new gods don't really exist.
It's just
something,
like an invisible enemy.
I think it's something that was concocted by Wednesday and who Mr. World is, to create a divide between the quote-unquote old gods and the quote-unquote new gods, right? In reality, it's like, is there any real new god? You can say, oh, media. It's like, media's probably that concept has existed for a very long time. Longer, in the show, we're led to believe that, she kind of came about when Roswell happened. But, that could have just been that version of her. She could have been something else, hundreds of thousands of years beforehand.
Right.
Yeah. So, to me, that's just how I feel about it. What'd you say?
There's just so much to it.
There really is. So it's like, when you think about it, you're like, I have no idea what's going on. But again, this is why American Gods needs to renew things for a season 4. But yeah. So my thing is with Tech and Bilquis. Brittany, did you have anything else you wanted to say about that?
I was gonna say, I really loved her hair, by the way. I know it sounds so silly. I loved her hairstyle in there. With Bilquis? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Brittany. Sorry, I had to put myself on mute for a second. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, no, I was just saying I love Bilquis. She's imitating Tech.
I loved that her hair was how Tech Boy's hair was in the first episode, frankly, of the series. I thought that was fucking great.
Hilarious.
And that she was wearing his clothes, and that was really his clothes. It's not like they got, clothes to, separate clothes that look like his. It's like those are his clothes that she was wearing.
That was actually his clothes.
Those are actually his clothes that she was wearing.
That's hilarious.
So I thought that was really funny. But yeah, I love the Tech and Bill. We talked about this, right? Where we said that we really hope that we saw a shit ton of interactions between Bilquis and Tech. And I have to say, I'm not disappointed at all with the interactions that we got.
No. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that last part you said.
About the interactions that we got?
Yeah, no, I loved it. I loved everyone we got. I'm telling you, season 3 has to be my favorite.
To me, it only gets better, right? People really had a lot of shit to say about season 2. I really like season 2. I know that it had a lot of problems. I will say that the only thing about season 2 now is that season 3 had to do a lot of like cleanup, essentially. Um, but as a whole, it's like I liked season 2 better than I liked season 1, and I like season 3 better than I like seasons 2 and 3. I mean 2 and 1. Sorry.
I know, I just miss Nancy. I feel like that would have made it perfect.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the thing that was missing essentially this season was, with Mr. Nancy, we got these really fantastic monologues, and that was missing. No one had a monologue moment. So I
Let's
saw,
pretend like Mr. Nancy was gone. At least we got a mention of new media in the final episode.
I think that things are really tense between Orlando Jones and Starz, to the point where I think that they hesitate on using his name at all. Because, so before season 3 came out, right, there was like it wasn't a trailer per se, right? It wasn't a trailer for season 3, but it was kind of like a compilation. So seasons 1 and 2 to kind of get people excited that season 3 was coming up. And in it, they were using things with Mr. Nancy in it, which were causing people to be asking Orlando Jones, like, oh, are you actually coming back? Because blah, blah, blah. And Orlando Jones, like, kind of blasted Starz on Twitter saying, like, you're using my name and my face and you're not even bringing me back. And, people are going to get confused and everything. And I feel like the tension between Orlando Jones and Starz are just too great that they didn't even want to write him in like that.
That's crazy. That's some intensity. They gave him the Lord Voldemort treatment. He who must not be named.
That's how it feels, and the thing is that there was like an interview with Neil Gaiman recently where Neil Gaiman was saying that he really hopes that things can be mended and Orlando Jones can come back. And I'm just like, I feel like that bridge has been burned.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on to number 2, which is your number 1. So Brittany, what you got?
I am gonna go with Tyr versus Odin. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm sorry. I sometimes mute my microphone, so if I don't answer right away, I can hear you. I promise.
Okay. No, it's just like whenever I talk and there's just dead silence, not even the motion of anything, I'm like, it sounds like the phone hung up, and that's why I'm always weary. I'm going to go with Tyr versus Odin, not just their final fight, but kind of the lead up to it, because when we see Johan, being dead, and I was like, man, I thought we thought that Johan was the one that was, killing these followers, this berserker that's gone crazy, but when you find out it's Tyr, and Tyr is kind of like, I do kind of love that he's so just, because he is, in the end, I was like, man, this guy's a dickhead, but he is a man of his word. He got Shadow to get, Odin to come here, and even Tyr was, like, surprised whenever he was like, yeah, let my son go, I'll, my life is yours. And Tyr does seem very surprised, but whenever he's like, oh yeah, his honesty is his greatest weakness, and Tyr's like, strength. And I'm like, that's really sad. Or like what he was describing, about Fenrir and how he lost his hand and how Odin always mocked him for it, but he was the reason why, the wolf didn't destroy all of them. And I was like, that's really sad. And then it's like, but I was like, when they had that final fight and it sent them, I guess, like, would it be behind the curtain?
Yeah, like backstage. I think backstage is what they typically call it.
Okay, like backstage, and like when they're fighting and Shadow interrupts and Tyr's like, basically like, I don't want to hurt you, but you interrupted the fight, which means I have to kill you because of the, the rules. And then just watching Odin stab him through, I was like, well, this is real, fucking depressing. Because I felt like Tyr was always the good person, and he was good to Demeter. And the thing was is that you would think, like, with Demeter, he would be really salty, like, I loved her, and, shows Odin, it's like, no, he swallowed that back because he wanted Demeter to be happy, and he didn't let on, that he was hurt. He was always there for her. He didn't disappear. He was always there, and he was there when their baby died, and he was there whenever she was in the hospital, and they still talk, and it's like, he was still there then, and I'm like, Tyr is like big old daddy over here just trying to be a good man. It's like, it's especially the type that where he's like, Tyr's like, hello, sir. And Odin is like, your daughter calls me daddy now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the two opposite sides of the coin.
What I really like about Tyr is, first of all, he's adaptable, right? Odin makes fun of him for being a dentist, and he says, well, I adapted into this life, and I make a decent living. I'm, relatively successful and happy, and you're the one who's grifting around. And, his thing saying that, like, everyone kept saying, like, this meaningless war that you're trying to get everyone in, I think Tyr falls under the category where he always wanted better for, say, like, their people, and Odin was just concerned with how it was going to benefit him, his worship, his followers. And Tyr's like, this war isn't good, just like this, thing going on with Fenrir isn't good. We have to find a way to stop it at some point. And Odin didn't want to stop it. He's the god of war. Why would he want to stop?
Odin's a massive dickhead.
I ended up really liking Tyr. I like the scene where he takes Shadow from Lakeside, right? And Shadow goes on the phone, and you find out that Tyr drugged him. And the one guy who's like, I can help. And Tyr's like, you dumb fuck, you should have just went back into your car. Now I'm going to kill you.
Did you not feel like there were so many more better deaths he could have given him instead of ripping out his Adam's apple and letting him bleed out on the ground?
I mean, he is a Norse god, so, they're all about blood and guts and shit.
Pretty damn bloody. My God.
But I loved all Wednesday and Tyr's, like, banter with each other. I really did. I thought that it was cool. Again, Dennis O'Hare is, I don't think I've seen him in much. At least it's not so recognizable to me. But I liked his acting in this. He brought, like...
an SVU episode, by the way, because I feel like some of these people that I see like this, I'm like, they're really good. They're normally in a Law and Order episode. Even Ian McShane was in a Law and Order episode.
That is fucking true. Didn't you feel like Tyr brought this very, like, Shakespearean sort of method and approach to playing Tyr?
Yes, I felt like with Tyr, he was very, like, what's the word for it? I think he was everything which you would imagine a king of gods to be like, and originally, but too good-spirited to keep the throne.
Well, yeah. He allowed it for someone like Wednesday to come up from behind, essentially, and scoop everything up.
I think it's like he, there was something, I don't feel like he had the same bloodlust as...
No.
I felt like he could find it through other methods, like licking the blood off of his hand. I don't know his obsession with teeth, by the way.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. It never really explained it. Maybe it's just supposed to say, like, well, this is an easy way for him to get the sort of maybe, like, bloodlust that he has. But I was going to say, with their final battle backstage, I kind of like that they distorted his voice when Odin's like, let's do this the old way, and he's like, let's do it, essentially. I love seeing them in their armor. I was like, this is so badass.
Odin doesn't have his eye in that form, because I know he's technically blind in that eye, but I like in that, By the way, I like that they showed young Tyr and young Odin.
Right? I love that you thought that it was just going to be them, like, how they are now, but them all young and stuff, I was like, I love this. To be honest, I love who they got to play Odin. He's just like a little shit.
By the way, I thought Demeter is beautiful young and beautiful older. Like, I mean, I just was obsessed with her. I thought she was gorgeous.
I know. It's like, Demeter, your one mistake in life was choosing Odin over Tyr.
Right, but it's like, and and he does say in it, he's like, Odin did like stir her blood, more than Tyr, and it's like, I guess it's like, yeah, that candle burns bright, but it burns out real fucking quick.
Well, you don't know that while it's happening.
Yeah.
That's always the problem. But yeah, I love Tyr versus Wednesday as the number 2. We are down to the number 1 of our top 10 best American Gods season 3 scenes, episodes 6 through 10. Woo! What a season. Let's get down to number 1, but first I gotta go through what we had already. Number 10 was Shadow making it snow with Marguerite. Number 9 was Mr. World meeting with Laura and Salim. Number 8 is Chernabog fucking that lady, is how I wrote it down. Number 7 is just Liam Doyle. Number 6 is Demeter turning back into grain. Number 5 is Laura saying goodbye to Sweeney. Number 4 is Tech versus the Children. Number 3 is Tech and Bilquis in Tech's subconscious. Number 2 is Tyr versus Wednesday. And number 1 is the scene that I fucking lost my shit while it was happening. And that is the reveal that Tech Boy is not a new god, but literally the embodiment of human innovation. I know, and it's like, listen, I know that there's so many things to talk about, the reveal with Shadow Wednesday on the plane, Shadow on the freaking tree, right? Bilquis going to Laura saying, thank gods I found you. There's so many. But I'm sorry, I could not put this on the number 1.
Dude, when I watched that, or like whenever you watched it, when the finale happened and everything, and you were like, Brittany, you have to, like, it's insane. Yeah, I love seeing the flashback, like, all through the innovation. But by the way, my theory is, though, you keep seeing that light bulb, and it's like, oh, he's only one part of the whole, but I don't feel like it was a half. You have Laura, right? But the other part was the fucking light bulb hanging. It was like an Edison bulb, too. It's like you need Tech.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When Bilquis was doing, when she was, that scene that you're talking about where it was like all orange. Oh, yeah. She's looking, it's literally playing right now. She's looking at the light bulb, and you see Tech Boy, and then you see Shadow, and then you see Laura. It's like, Tech is part of this. Like, whatever this is that Bilquis has to do, like, Tech is definitely a part of it. So to me, it's like, it's just, oh my god. I loved it, right? Like, I want to talk about it. I want to walk through it a second. I love seeing Tech go down to the basement, right? He sees the thing. He's eaten the raw data. He's killed all of the fucking children. And he's crazy. Like, he looked crazy. And he looks at it and he goes, all of this for a fucking rock. And as soon as he grabs it, and you see that the freaking, like, fire starting, you're like, oh my god, it's a flint. Like, what does this mean? And then you see the printing press, you see a nuclear bomb, it's like, and then for World to be like, you are human innovation, and then when Tech is like, well, why don't I know this? And it's like, because you don't have your totem with you, And it's like the whole thing where freaking World, saying all that shit, and then he tracks Tech. But my favorite part of that, even more than that whole thing, is the sequence of events of him going, who are you? Who the fuck are you? Like, Tech doesn't, he's like, who the fuck are you? And him going, and Mr. World going, They say this is the era of technology. It's not. It's the era of manipulation. And the line that secured it for me, trickery is what I do best. And what does he whistle, Brittany, as he's walking out the door? Requiem of Balder. That thing that he's whistling, that song that he's whistling is the same shit that when Laura was in purgatory going, what is that? And the guy and the janitor goes, Requiem of Balder. Who is Balder in the frickin' in Norse mythology? He's one of Odin's sons. And no, I'm not saying Mr. World is Balder. I'm saying it makes sense with Shadow. And why, I'm going crazy here. Why does Mr. World know so much about Norse customs? Why is he so infatuated with Norse? We know who Mr. World is, all right? We know who Mr. World really is.
You know what my thing is really quick? Is in Norse mythology, there's only one person that is the reason that Balder dies.
Is it?
Yes, that fucker. Can we just say it and just spoil it?
Yeah, Loki, okay. Loki.
It's Loki. But my thing is about it is Balder dies because the only thing, okay, I'm trying to remember Balder's mother's name, right? Mm-hmm. But, because it wasn't it wasn't
Frigga.
It wasn't Frigga. I think it was the other one, because Odin had two wives, right?
Because he's a hoe, yeah.
Because he's a hoe. I'm trying to remember. Either way, she loved Balder, and he was very cherished by all the other gods and goddesses in Norse mythology. But he was so beloved that his mother begged, every living thing, everything in the world to not harm her son, and they all agreed. But the only thing I think that she didn't ask, because it was so innocent, it was mistletoe, right? That was the only plant. And so, but a lot of the gods and goddesses would like to, practice on Balder because he couldn't be harmed. They would use him for target practice, right? Fucking around, I guess. And Loki replaced the arrows with arrows made from mistletoe branches. Yeah. And it killed Balder.
I'm sorry. They're going with the reveal that it's Loki. And also the fact that Tyr even mentions Loki in his story about Fenrir. I'm like, it's all there. And the fact that, because you would think that, as the new gods, right, that they would know who each other are. But the fact that Tech is looking at him like he's a stranger, where he's like, who are you? Who are you really? And he's so confused. And, World just turning around and whistling Requiem of Balder. I said to myself, again, and the line, trickery is what I do best. As soon as he said that, I was like, he's Loki. He's fucking Loki.
You know what got me too, by the way? Just a quick question. Because part of me is like, could Shadow be Balder, right? Because in a sense, but it's like, okay, but, look at him. He obviously is dead at this point in the show, but because even Ibis says it, right? And that was telling me. But my thing is it's supposed to be an endurance test, right? And he's sitting there. Why does the tree suddenly stab him as a blood there? Because Vigil was like, I'm just going to sit there and, endure the 9 days and 9 nights. Why, Tia? Does it freaking stab? I feel like that was a big dick move.
Well, I feel as if maybe it's because he was dying. I know I keep saying spoilers for the book and everything, but it's the book came out 20 years ago at this point. You can Wikipedia it, right? Freaking in the book, Shadow does die on the tree. But that's why you need Easter. Right? To bring him back. But you don't have Easter. So who do you bring? You bring Demeter. So that's why I think that they introduced Demeter into it. So That ending was so crazy. Like, again, you know what it is? You know what it is like, with the whole shadow thing? They really did perfectly do it to the book. Like, them meeting in the hotel, the new gods presenting them with the body, him, with the three women preparing him on the tree. Like, that's all so to the book. So it's like, if you've read the book, then you kind of, you're watching it, it's great, but you know that this is happening. But the tech boy thing is so uncharted territory where it's like, holy fuck, they're going there. And again, to just find out, like as you said, the shitty little god in season 1, who's, the technical boy, for him to go from that to, oh no, he's actually like human innovation. Like he existed when the human first discovered fire. It's like, oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. And it's even cooler because Odin sought out Shadow, right, for his own personal gain. Well, Mr. World sought out this, knowing that he can control him as long as he has the totem, right, so that he keeps that from him so Tech Boy doesn't know who he actually is, and then he can control him and then use him to create more chaos in the world by inventing Shard. That's what I think that whole thing is. Oh, it makes sense that the fact the thing is called Shard and the totem is a shard.
Yeah, that's pretty insane because a shard of flint, because it cracks off. So I just felt like they answered so many questions, but they left so many unanswered. I just want them to stop beating on the bush. And also, I feel personally betrayed by Wednesday. I feel personally attacked.
So, I'll say this. I kind of really want Technical Boy to get a name. If he is Prometheus, right? I don't know how that would work just because I think he predates, everyone at this point. But I'd like him to get a name other than Technical Boy. That'd be kind of cool.
To be Prometheus. In my head, we're calling him Prometheus.
Again, if that's where they went with it, I wouldn't mind. That would add a little bit of a question to me because then he wouldn't. But anyway, whatever. Prometheus could have been his first name. He could have just been a concept at that point. And then when it came time for Prometheus, and it was like, oh, look, finally a name. So that'd be cool. I'm fine with that. So I want that to happen. I want Technical Boy Prometheus, right, to break free. And I want the team up. I want the Avengers Assemble of the American gods to get together and just take down Wednesday and World, because the two of them have really royally fucked over everyone, right? Like, fucked over everyone in this story. Unnecessarily, because the two of them are so much of egomaniacs that they needed that, right? So yeah, Brittany, I mean, we went through all of this. I think it's great. Really quick, let's go through some honorable mentions, and then let's go through what we want from season 4. So do you have any honorable mentions?
I was going to say one question. Who do you think would be the Hawkeye of that group?
Well, I love everyone, so I don't know if anyone would be a Hawkeye. Not in the sense, because I love Salim. So not in like, oh, he's useless. It's just that he's the human, and Hawkeye is like the regular person. So I guess you could say
I like
that.
him a lot better. Like, I like Salim in season 1, but I loved him in this season. And I guess my honorable mention will be when freaking Shadow Moon finally goes to the car and falls into the water and he sees all the souls of the lost children, which I wanted that to wrap up. I wanted Chad. I wanted to see them pulling up the freaking cars. I wanted to see the loose ends tied, because we just get flashback to Marguerite and her, like, taking down the pictures and moving and stuff. But, like, I want to know, did they find his body? Did she have that? Did they have funerals for these children that they thought were just missing? You know what I mean? I wanted to know.
I will say I was was hoping that we'd have like an end scene with Chad because we just saw Shadow and Chad just kind of like looking at each other. Like Chad needs some explanation, right? He literally like shot up Hinselman, who wasn't even affected. Her eyes were black, and then her blood was freaking fire. It's like Chad needed to be sat down and some fucking explaining to do because
It's so creepy that she is the god that was the reason for the sacrifice of the little Native American girl. I was like distraught because that scene, like it was rough to watch. Not gonna lie.
It's rough, right? It's a little girl getting killed in such a horrific way. I mean, I love the reveal with Hinselman. In the book, Hinselman is a man, so it kind of like worked better that it's like this nice, sweet old lady who, in fact, is like this really old god that requires sacrifice.
I'm confused that she's supposed to be like a Norse god, right?
Yes.
But it's an elephant.
You know, American God sometimes has some questions.
Of the elephant? Because the elephant was under the water, and the elephant was like, you know, in the ice sculpture. So she got to the elephant, but I'm like,
was that supposed to be Hinselman, or was like, an elephant supposed to be almost like, remember the goddess from last season? Was it Kali, right? Who so maybe it was supposed to be like another god was just trying to help out Shadow by showing him, and that's
like the peacock is supposed to be Bilquis, right?
I think.
I guess she had like the peacock like fan, and that always made me just assume it was her.
That's true. That's true. I wanted to say that I wanted like a wrap-up thing again with like Shadow and Chad because in the book there is a wrap-up. Like, so really quick in the book. So this is something they skipped entirely, which I'm perfectly fine with because it wouldn't make sense. So in the book, remember Audrey from season 1? Yeah. Laura's friend, the foul-mouthed friend. In the book, Audrey, you find out, is Chad's cousin, but like a distant cousin. Yeah, like a distant cousin who ends up in Lakeside, and you kind of like get the idea from the book that like Chad and Audrey have had relations before, and at the end of the Lakeside. And at the end of the Lakeside thing, as Shadow leaves, he pretty much tells Chad, like, hey, you should, like, stop sleeping with Audrey and maybe you should go with Marguerite because you guys have known each other for so long and you live in the same town and everything and she liked you and stuff. And I think they were trying to allude to that by having Chad constantly say, like, oh, you know, Marguerite's a good friend of mine, but it just didn't go in that direction. But, yeah, I'm glad they didn't do the Audrey thing. Whatchamacallit? My honorable mentions are I have so many only because as I went through the episodes, I literally just wrote down like the highlights of them, but I'll go through shit really like quick, you know. Obviously, Laura killing Wednesday was a fucking honorable mention. I thought that was great. I liked seeing Sam Black Crow back, even if it was for 2 seconds. I wish it was a little longer, obviously. Whatchamacallit? I love the story of the Peacock Inn. You know, I love Tony. I thought she was great.
Yes, I love Tony. I love, like, threatening, whatever his name was, the homecoming dude.
Oh, yeah, and she was just like, do you remember me? Like, pretty much saying, like, I will air your shit out right now if you don't get the fuck out of here. I thought that was great. So I thought that was amazing. I love the story of that god. I don't know his name, but the Chinese god who gave Tony all of that wonderful prosperity. I loved at first how Tony didn't believe him. He was like, I grant, you know, the Peacock Inn with many years of wonderful service. Pretty much gave Tony, like, godshipness, like, to live forever. And Tony...
Did you see Tony was not aging? I was like, she looks the same. I was like,
yeah.
How?
That god literally, like, granted that to Tony for being so kind to him. And I was like, I love that. I love Liam.
Rabbit god.
Yeah, that's that's a real god. Like, I looked it up. Like, that is a real god. So I love that they included that. I don't know. I love Liam and Laura's road trip. Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think I loved all of it. I loved season 3. There's so many amazing things. And before we wrap up here today, Brittany, let's talk about quick, like, what are the things? So, admittedly, right, Starz has not renewed it for season 4 yet, which is honestly stupid at this point. But there is only one season worth of story left to tell. So let's presume that it gets renewed for a 4th and final season. What do you want to see in a final season of American Gods?
I want Demeter to come back and bring, Shadow back. I want to see, because I don't believe Demeter's dead, because Tyr would have been very upset if she was dead. They just said, oh, things didn't work out with her. I want to see the Jinn come back and Salim fucking just slap the shit out of him or something. I want to see one last interaction with Sweeney where, like, Laura can truly move on. I want to see her with freaking Liam. I love Liam so much. And then I want, I'm trying to think what else. I want Chad to come back. And I'm trying to think what else. I want Wednesday to get what's coming to him. That baby back bitch.
Yes. So in a season 4, I obviously want to see Technical Boy break out of his jail cell and team up and go against Mr. World. I want to see Liam come back. I want clarity of what's going on with Bilquis and her story, because to me that's very important. I want Shadow.
It's awesome, but I'm very confused.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I loved every interaction with Bilquis this season. I loved her getting a spiritual awakening. I just didn't love that I had no idea still what the fuck was going on. Which is like, okay, I'm okay with waiting, say, like, another season to be like, oh my god, that all makes sense, you know? I'm fine with that. Like, if there's, say, like, a payoff. So I want clarity of what's going on with Bilquis. As you said, I want Wednesday to get what's coming from him. I want Shadow to stop being a little bitch, because, that was ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, listen, bring back Liam. Technoboy breaks out. Freaking, Bilquis clarity. Maybe we see Sweeney in the afterlife, just chilling in the backstage. Just revive it. And yeah, no, the Jinn to come back and Salim to be like, yo, I'm not a little bitch anymore. I'm gonna fucking smack you. That's what I need. Jinn's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Salim. I had to go, and it's like, and just slap right across the face.
Did you feel like there was a parallel between, like, when Salim was with the Jinn, right? It was very, like, it was rough, but loving, but also it did feel very dominating. So I thought it was, like, interesting, the parallels of, like, Salim with the other guy being very, like, not
taking charge.
Taking charge, but, like, still being, it felt a lot more intimate than with Jim.
Yeah, 100%. And that Salim was very, not timid, right? But he was very, like, in awe of the Jinn as it was happening. But with this, it's like Kai, who was the other guy's name, was very, like, loving and very, like, nice. And then Salim was feeling very, like, accepted and safe. It's a safe place. So I feel like those are the differences, and Salim needed that, like, desperately. So I'm happy that happened. Oh, I want to see Cordelia come back. I don't want her to be wasted and thrown away in a season 4. So I definitely see her come back. And, they keep alluding in interviews with Ashley Reyes, who is the actress who played Cordelia, which, believe it or not, this is her first TV gig. She's only done theater beforehand, so I thought that was very cool. But in interviews with Ian McShane, who said in my interview, and then I see interviews with Ashley Reyes, that they keep saying that no one's in Wednesday's life by choice. And not by choice, by chance. No one's in Wednesday's life by chance. So it's like, what does that mean for Cordelia? Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, Wednesday has fucked around a lot, so it's very possible.
I know, that's crazy. But
I
felt like if Loki is there and it says it falls to the oldest son to avenge his father's death, and it's like, I mean, Loki couldn't kill freaking Laura because he already told her, like, he made a binding contract.
The whole thing. Oh, we need season 4. Like, Starz needs to stop fucking around and just greenlight it. Like, I can't wait. But, Brittany, I always love talking to you about American Gods, which is another reason why I was not only excited for this, but why I want a season 4, so that we can continue talking about this show, because it's so great.
Season 4 podcast.
Exactly. We need to keep podcasting about it. But before I let you go, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you and what you got going on next?
Okay, so you can always find me on Twitch at Itty Bitty Brit. I've been playing, like last night I played It Takes Two, which is a cute game where it's co-op and I wanted to murder my partner. But it was a good time. You play as little dolls that basically these parents are getting a divorce and their daughter is very upset, ends up crying on these dolls. It transplants their souls into these dolls, and so they're having to work through their marital issues while trying to survive, being shrunken down toys. It's very cute but very sad. And then you can find me on Twitter at ittybitty_Brit0. And you can find me on TikTok, which I need to get back on TikTok, at Itty Bitty Brittany.
That game sounds terrifying. But everyone, please make sure that you check out Brittany. She's a very dedicated streamer who spends many hours entertaining you all, so make sure you check that out. For me, I mean, listen, I had a lot of great interviews with the American Gods cast. I literally spoke to Ashley Reyes, Yetede, Omid, Bruce Langley, Ian McShane. I got written interviews with Eric Johnson, who played Chad, and Ricky Whittle, and they deserve some love. So make sure you check that out, geek5nation.com. Make sure you also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Geek 5 Podcast. We have merch now, by the way, so make sure you check that out. Those links will be on our website as well in the description of our YouTube page, so make sure you please check that out. I also have an upcoming written interview. Well, I spoke to him, but I put the transcription out with actor Ty Ma, who's a very experienced actor, and he's going to be in the upcoming CW show called Kung Fu. So please make sure you check that out, give it some love. And for my personals, you can check me out on Twitter and Instagram at TFBaby or TC_start. So yeah, make sure you check out American Gods. Make sure you go on Twitter and get the hashtag Renew American Gods circulating, because we need frickin' number 4. But Brittany, it's been amazing, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.